see that Trustee Rosenberg is appearing virtually. His address has been properly noticed, and Trustee Taylor, his address has also been properly noticed, and they are appearing virtually, and they can participate virtually under the law. Is there a motion to open tonight's meeting? Trustee Rosen Asher, second. Trustee Patino, all in favor. Meeting is officially open. Let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we start, I just want to make an opening statement. As you know, 2 weeks ago, there was a referendum on cannabis dispensaries, and the result was that we will not move forward with dispensaries. We thank everyone who voted and appreciate the democratic process. I do want to clear up a misconception that has spread, and that is that the board voted to accept dispensaries because there were 3 new members of the Board of Trustees. That is not true. Revisiting the issue had always been on the board's agenda. For those of you who recall, in November of 2021, the board voted not to opt in to permitting dispensaries because the regulations were not put into effect. Our intention was to revisit the situation when the regulations were put out, and before the regulations did come out, we also looked at our smoking law. We toughened up the smoking law. We also revisited our zoning laws, and when we reviewed all of those zoning laws, the new regulations regarding cannabis dispensaries, the board reviewed that all and voted unanimously to opt in. So we all voted unanimously to opt in. As a result of that petition, there was a petition to overturn our decision, and the referendum which went out, which we then had the vote. We totally get that the passions were running high, and that's one of the issues when you have a referendum. That's what can happen. But however, in the last 2 weeks, there have been physical threats, verbal attacks made on some members of the Board of Trustees. This is absolutely unacceptable. People may disagree about an issue, advocate for an issue, advocate for their cause, but we all live together, we're all neighbors, and we all share the same goal of making Dobbs Ferry a great place to live. The cannabis issue has now been resolved, and the board is ready to move on to other issues. We've already moved on to many other issues that are important to our residents and to our businesses. To that end, we will continue to work toward improving the physical, financial, and quality of life issues that matter to everybody. So wherever you stood on the cannabis issue, it is settled, it is time to move on, and as a community and as neighbors, let's commit to moving forward together with respect and understanding. So I thank you for that, and now we can move on to the Indian Point issue, which, I don't know, Richard, do you want to talk about it first, or?
I think I would defer to Trustee Patino, had brought it to our attention, if you would discuss it.
Yeah, sure. I'll just give a sort of brief overview. As most of us are aware of, the Indian Point nuclear power plant is decommissioned. There will be an ongoing decades-long process of decommissioning that plant. Recently, we received some notice that a massive amount of contaminated water would be sort of released into the Hudson River. This is, sort of potential ecological catastrophe for everyone downstream and even some areas upstream. And so we just like to take a very strong stance as a village that we are completely against the release of this. There should be more research into how the contaminated water can be contained and or somehow taken off site. I don't know what that means, but at the very least, we should prevent this release of this contaminated water into the Hudson.
Yeah, so I know at the village officials meeting with all the other Rivertown officials, we all met, we all discussed it, and we're all passing, all the boards are passing resolutions objecting to this proposed action that this company wants to take at Indian Point. So I think we have a draft resolution that we will address. I don't see it as really anyone to be against that, and, but it's open to discussion. Matt, you have a question or comment?
Yeah, one thing that I want to mention, in Massachusetts, the same company, Holtec, is involved in decommissioning the Pilgrim nuclear power plant in Plymouth. And just in December, they essentially thumbed their nose at the EPA, which was requiring a new permit from them, and said, well, we might just release it anyway. The presumption being that they'd rather take the fine than go through the cost of remediation in another way. So there's some history here to this particular company not paying attention to environmental rules, and I just wanted to bring that to people's attention. It's easily Googleable, but my question, I guess, is where are we sending our resolution, to what authority, and is it to the EPA, is it to the State Environmental Authority? Where are we making our displeasure known?
The Riverkeeper had issued a memo which had contained a list of representatives and interested agencies. I'm also aware that the House and the Senate have taken up legislation. So obviously, we would make sure that we would send whatever the resolution to those representatives of your jurisdiction. So there are a number of names in that memo, in the email that we got from, that Mike, Trustee Patino had sent out from the Riverkeeper.
Okay, so if there's no other comments or questions about that, we will move on to that at the,
I just want to say one more thing. So Matt brings up an interesting point. I think that we should, just as a village, take a stronger stance about, how we make our concerns known to, everyone from Greenberg to the county to the state to the EPA at the federal level. And so
Absolutely.
perhaps, Richard, you could help us understand as a board, what would be some, what are the best steps for us to take, and I think we're all sort of happy to take those individually together, and we just encourage everyone who lives and cares about the river and to do the same. And I think maybe we can publish that list on our website so that everyone has access to those, and I think that, flood those folks' email inboxes with your concerns.
Yeah, I would add, I totally agree that the decommissioning of Indian Point and subsequent cleanup is a big focus at the county level, and the county executive does have a director of environment and sustainability in Peter McCart, and so they have a whole kind of task force and someone who's completely dedicated to Indian Point, but this is something that needs to go exactly like you said, county, and send it to Mary Jane Shimsky, and send it to Andrea Stewart Cousins, and send it to Jamal Bowman, and make sure that, everybody's on board with this, because this is not a Dobbs Ferry issue. It's the Hudson River, it's an estuary, it runs both ways. It's up and down the Hudson Valley, so we want to make sure that we're playing with a big team.
So is it the county executive who does this company has to run their plans by the county, or who's the authority that's overseeing the decommissioning?
The decommissioning of
federal
Indian Point
EPA?
is a bigger thing, bigger than the county, but.
Okay. Because I just want to note there were some questions that we received from a resident who has a lot of experience with this, and I completely support the resolution. I just want to help get some answers to if it's the EPA that's overseeing the decommissioning, then we can.
The EPA would be the the permit approval authority for this particular permit to release the millions of gallons with this isotope in it. So radioactive isotope, just to be clear, from the spent rod pools. So the EPA would have to be granting a permit in order for them to do this discharge into the federal navigable waters.
And is there a strong disincentive for them to do it? Do you know what I mean, to Matt's point about they were thinking about just releasing it regardless, do you know what the, like,
not.
penalty would be? Okay.
So I do want to acknowledge.
The EPA did say that there would be financial penalties, and there are also, this article I read suggested that there are criminal liabilities for knowingly doing it or causing it to be done. But when it's a corporation, that's a lot. That's a lot more difficult to pull off.
So I do want to acknowledge that we did receive an email from Vincent Coulihan about 4:58 tonight, who has some background on this information on it. He has sent us a pretty detailed email, and certainly he can continue to send us more information as we move forward on deciding who to contact and who to pressure and who to express our concerns to. So thank you for taking the time to submit those emails.
If I may, I clearly this is something that should not be done, presumptuously quickly. Should be done with research. But, well, for what it's worth, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, the NRC, is actually responsible for regulating decommissioning of plants. Presumably, the EPA is also involved, but we just want to make sure we have all our facts straight, because that's the way we'll make sure that we can try and fight any sort of problem. But I certainly agree that putting out a statement to stop this from happening imminently makes all the sense in the world.
Okay, so we'll move on with that. So next item is the fire studies, and I know we have a memo from the Assistant Fire Chief Joseph Giuliani about the fire studies. Come on up. So just a little way of background, the fire department is certainly concerned with their future and the future physical structures of the firehouse and their ability to protect the village. Board of Trustees has requested that a study be done to determine, is there a need for a firehouse? What's the future of the volunteer fire department look like? And if there is a need for a firehouse, where would that firehouse be and what would it look like? So we did put out, I don't know if it was an RFP for that, but we did get, I think, 3 responses. So maybe you could talk a little bit about it, and then Richard, you could fill in any blanks.
Yeah, sure. So just to follow up on what the mayor was saying, a few months ago we did a presentation about the state of the fire department. Everything, personnel, facilities, the whole 9 yards. Under your direction, we were advised to go out and, get some quotes for a study to be done. We had 3 separate companies come in to provide quotes to do the study. The first company was Emergency Vehicle Response, who provided a proposal for $22,800. The second is H2M Architects and Engineering for the amount of $29,500. And the third was Mitchell Associates and Architects at a cost of $46,000. So last week, Chief Osborne and I met with Administrator Leans to go over the proposals, and we went through them all, and we felt that the best one was Emergency Vehicle Response. As you can see in the proposal that was attached to the memo, they cover everything we wanted to go over. They're going to look at our current facilities to see that if there is something we can do here for the future, as well as looking at other sites if needed. And it also incorporates EMS into this as well, which I know was a very important thing for us to cover, along with response patterns and also water supply, which is another thing that's very, very important to us. Since we do have a lot of hydrants, we want to make sure that the water supply is sufficient for the village as well. But after going through all these proposals, we are recommending Emergency Vehicle Response to perform the study.
And if I'm correct, they're going to get this done within 60 days, I think I saw?
No, so the study takes approximately 2 to 3 months. So once the study is complete, they'll set up a meeting within 60 days at a workshop, or we could do a presentation at a board meeting to provide the study. So his goal was to have the study complete by July, depending on when we start. Is, if we start later, then it's obviously going to get pushed back, but if we start sooner, then July was the target date for when the study will be complete. So they're going to come into the village, come assess our current facilities, here, the ambulance corps, Ogden, and drive around the village as well to address these other issues, like, along with the fire apparatus too, like our streets. We have a lot of tight streets, so it's not only planning for now, it's planning for the future, which is really, really important, because at the end of the day, whether you're volunteer, combination, or paid fire department, there is going to be a fire department in some aspects, so the fire department is not going anywhere. This is something that's going to be here long term.
Any questions for the fire department? None? Okay. How do we feel about accepting this proposal, moving forward and authorizing it?
I think we should move forward with the study.
Okay.
Thank you guys for getting the quotes.
Yep. Okay. Thanks.
It's on the be all and end all.
You have, next on the agenda is a update on the 150th anniversary.
Nice. Sesquicentennial.
Good evening. So as you know, we are celebrating our sesquicentennial
She says it perfectly.
Rolls off the
this
tongue.
upcoming year. I just want to go over some of the events and kind of get your approval so we can start advertising. Our first event would take place on Friday, June 30th, and it would be a Dine Out Jobs. So we would be closing Cedar and Main Street. We would ask the local restaurants to participate. We would look to hire a live band for this corner of Cedar and Main Street. The event would take place from 6 to 10 p.m. And the roads would be closed from 4 p.m. to midnight. Our second event, which is probably the biggest, is a carnival down at Waterfront Park. That would kick off on Saturday, July 1st, and end on July 4th. It would consist of a number of different rides, food, all of that fun stuff. Our third event would be a soapbox derby, which would take place on Sunday, July 2nd. The idea is that we would sell kits, people would build little cars, we would race them down Main Street until in front of the firehouse. So we would close Main Street from 11 to 3, and the event would take place in between there. Also on July 2nd, we would do live music down at Waterfront Park for people while the carnival was going on. And then on July 4th, we would have our regular July 4th celebration along with the carnival and then the fireworks celebration. So I am looking just for permission to proceed and kind of get the word out and start advertising.
Hi. That sounds amazing. So when it comes to downtown closures, I know that the downtown businesses have a lot of opinions about when closures happen. So I'm just hoping, is there a reason why you wanted to do the dine out on a Friday night instead of like a Sunday, for example?
There isn't a specific
Okay.
reason for it. We just thought that it would kind of like kick off the event, so we would do it on Friday night and kind of get them involved. We did move the soapbox derby to that Sunday because we know that a lot of stores are open on Saturday.
Yeah, maybe we could even do a survey and use it as an opportunity to engage the downtown businesses in, in helping to shape this, if that works for you. I just think that, I know closing the streets on a Friday or a Saturday with the parking issues and people accessing restaurants in the past has been something that restaurant owners have voiced concerns about. So, and considering they're the ones that are seeking to be supported through a dine-out experience, it'd be great to engage them in the timing on that. But it sounds really amazing. Thank you for
I think
putting all that work
when we
into it.
did them during COVID, we did them on Fridays.
It was on a Saturday and there were a lot of
Was it?
complaints.
Yeah, the owners did complain.
And it, intuitively from the outside, it seems like, of course, we should do it on the busiest night, but actually the challenges with the parking make it harder.
I guess
So,
it depends on if July 4th weekend's a busy weekend
Yeah.
or not.
well, we could just ask them, I think. And I think we've always been looking for more opportunities to engage downtown businesses. So I think it's a wonderful kind of community building and get them excited about the sesquicentennial as
I
well.
do think as a rule, Jessica's right, some of the decisions that may get made about having community events may sound fabulous, but no one necessarily asks the business owners about it. And I think even just asking them would go a long way in goodwill and getting full participation in something. But I think that there have always been concerns from the business owners where something may be good for the community, and then we're asking the businesses to give up a day of business, so.
And I will voluntold the downtown committee and the Rivertown's Chamber of Commerce to help with that survey if you want to go in that direction.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a good idea. I think you should do that, engage them and do a survey. And about the fireworks, we do better, bigger than last time?
Yes, we're planning a lot bigger this year than last year.
Okay, so I don't know when, if we have to sign a contract or whatever.
That's coming pretty soon. I've been talking to them, so that
Okay.
will probably be at the next board meeting.
Okay, great.
One quick question about that. The waterfront is always pretty crowded for the fireworks event, and there's a carnival now at the same time. Are we at all concerned about the carnival coexisting with the normal population of our July 4th fireworks event?
We talked about it. We talked about running a shuttle like throughout the day. So it would circle between 99 Cedar behind Village Hall and then kind of
Oh,
continue.
I'm just talking about the space at Waterfront Park to hold both the carnival or is the carnival on the parking lot?
It's up on the soccer field.
Is that what time does it end?
It's going to end at 7 o'clock on 4th of July so that we can clear everybody out in order to shoot off the fireworks.
Because during the day, the Waterfront Park is pretty quiet, I think, on July 4th.
It gets pretty quiet. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
when the fireworks
Yeah.
are about to start.
But 7 o'clock is when people start to go, I guess, or maybe even
Right.
6, right? Yeah, that's a good question, Matt. Maybe we could end it an hour earlier. We could talk about that, I guess.
Yeah, it's definitely up for like debate. We can talk about the hours and everything else as it gets closer.
How late does the carnival go on the other night?
11 o'clock is the plan.
I know I reviewed the, but I didn't commit it to memory,
Do
sorry.
you have this all written down, like the days in a row and the timing of the events? Did we get?
I do, I can email it. I'll
Okay,
make
that
it
would be
look
great.
prettier than
Thank you
it
so
does right
much.
So you're suggesting that Friday night would be the kickoff to the weekend of Sesquicentennial? 150th anniversary celebration.
now. Correct.
And one final thing, the soapbox derby, does that have kids hurtling down Main Street in rickety vehicles, or are the vehicles not containing children?
Oh, they're children.
No, there would be children in them, or it could be adults if they wanted to.
And
We will have a pre-inspection.
we have insurance for
to let
that.
them. We have reached out to our insurance company
Okay,
to make sure that it's okay.
great, thank you.
And everybody's in this, it's a kid. My nephew competed for many years.
It's mostly kids, but we figured we would have an adult, section as well.
All right, I'll send you an email.
That'll be great if you, first of all, I want to thank you all for putting it together because I have no imagination and you guys are doing great, so that's fantastic. And if you could email it to us, that'll be great so we have it. And I do think it's important that we can at least get some input from the downtown businesses. They may have some valid ideas and concerns. Rather than just imposing it, like Shari said, we could work with them the best we can. We may decide, whatever, Friday is the best day, but at least they have some input in it. That's-
Maybe. Right, or maybe we put we kick off with the carnival on Friday at the waterfront.
Yeah, we
I'm
can
just saying, we
definitely,
could,
reach out and see.
you know,
yeah.
if a Friday night event is at the waterfront, and then we close Main Street and Cedar on Sunday, that might, I don't know. There are tons of, considerations, but look at all of it. Thank you.
I think it's a great start, and it's great, so. We look forward to hearing from you next 2 weeks from now.
Perfect.
Thank you, Kendra.
Thank you.
Okay. Do you want to address anything that I think I sent you a couple of other things that we have to address, Richard, or should we save those to the end?
I think they're mostly for executive session or advice of council.
Okay, so let's move on with the appointments. I'm happy to announce the appointment of Avery Little and Cynthia Mooney as members of the Ad hoc Downtown Committee. We appreciate their willingness to get involved and to volunteer on that committee. I did read their resumes, and they have bring great experience to the committee, so I want to thank them for joining, and we appreciate their volunteerism. Public hearing. The first public hearing is a proposed local law to amend Chapter 4 of the Dobbs-Surrey Code in relation to the position of the village administrator. So is there a motion to open the first public hearing? Trustee Rosen Asher, second trustee Rosenberg, all in favor? The public hearing is hereby officially opened. Laura Lee, do you want to give us a little background?
Sure. There was some clarification needed in the status, the employment status of this position, and it led to some misunderstandings recently. So the board had asked if I could address it with just some clarification language, and I did that. It's this position is an at-will position, and now the local law reflects that clearly, concisely, and it should cause no further misunderstanding.
Any questions or comments from the board about this change? Any questions or comments from the public about this change? Anybody online have a question or comment about this change? Okay, so with there being no, it's pretty clear cut. I think you just added four words to it, so it's pretty clear cut. So is there a motion to close the public hearing? Trustee Rosen Asher, second trustee Patino, all in favor? Hearing is hereby closed. I guess we could just do the resolution now, so,
You have it before you.
yes, I do.
It's out of order, though.
It is.
No, it's not.
I can't find it.
You got it.
She'll show it.
Yep, it's right there. Thank you. We just have to give it a local law number. I wasn't sure what number you were up to.
Is there a motion to adopt local law to amend the Dobbs-Surrey Code Chapter 4 to clarify classification of employment of the village administrator? Trustee Patino, second trustee Rosen Asher, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you. And just a way of background, we have placed an ad. We have a nice brochure that describes the village and the position. I've been in contact with the person running the search for us. She's already received, the last I heard, about 8 to 10
Great.
resumes from people who are interested in the position. So we have a short amount of time left for that period to be open, and we expect to have more resumes. Then we'll start going through the interview process, and then we'll go from there. So we will keep you advised as the process goes forward. So, thanks. Public hearing number 2 is to amend a law to encourage and facilitate and manage honeybee colonies in the village. So is there a motion to open the public hearing concerning honeybees? Trustee Galen, second trustee Sullivan, all in favor? Public hearing is hereby open. Again, Laura Lee, do you want to talk a little bit
Sure.
about this?
This is just a change to encourage and facilitate the managed honeybees as a means, among many, to encourage the pollination necessary of your plants. It's a known fact that a number of the plants are in danger because of the lack of pollinators. And although the board understood and understands that honeybees aren't the same as native pollinators, but in this case, it's just one of the arrows in the quiver to assist with this pollination effort. And this law talks specifically about the managed honeybees, specifically honeybees in apiaries on properties that are managed by hobbyists with a certain amount of qualifications and educational and expertise knowledge. So the requirement would be to register the apiaries locations and to also provide notice in terms of having that individual with this knowledge available should there be any activity or associated swarming, which of course they do when they're trying to find another apiary. So a qualified beekeeper could come out and actually put them into a managed colony. So It doesn't add this as a use to your zoning. It's not necessary to do that. It's simply a registration process and contact information and educational aspects of managed honeybee apiaries.
Any questions or comments from the board about this?
I would just like to say that this came about because somebody reached out to the board to ask about fees. So I don't know that we would have automatically said, hey, why don't we pass a resolution about beekeeping or apiaries? So the more communication that we get from the community about things that are important, then the more capable we can be of addressing the concerns.
That's a good point. You're right. We never would have sat together and said, hey, let's allow beekeeping, but someone did come to us, and they sounded like a good idea to us, and we passed the law. And I think that was done within 2 months, so which for us is,
That's lightning fast.
We have other communities, river communities up and down that have similar provisions requiring this registration of the apiaries. And I happen to have drafted this very same law for one of those other communities, and so it was an easy lift for
Bring on the honey.
so, I should just open it to the public. Is there any comments from the public about beekeeping? Oh, you're the beekeeper.
My name is Gretchen Skaggs. I live on Belden Avenue, and I am the co-president of the Dobbs Ferry Garden Club, as well as the co-director of the Dobbs Ferry Food Pantry. And my family and I have kept bees at our home up in Woodstock, and we would love to be able to keep them here. For all the reasons that Trustee Dixon just mentioned, they're very important.
By the way, she's the village attorney.
I'm the village
No one
attorney.
elected her. She may think she's a trustee at times. but She's the village attorney.
The way I talk to the mayor, you'd think I was an equal, but I'm not.
So obviously, they're very important to the environment, and they're also just a great thing to do with your kids, and it's a fun, we've really enjoyed sharing that with our kids. We've talked to neighbors, and everyone thinks it's a great idea, so, we just wanted to make it official. As she mentioned, several of the neighboring villages already have it on the books, so it would be wonderful to have it officially on the books. And I really appreciate that you acted so quickly and that you responded and brought it to the table. Thank you.
Well, thank you for bringing it to us, and hopefully you won't be the only person in Dobbs Ferry.
I'm going to start a trend.
Is there anybody else? Anybody online? Okay. So is there a motion to adopt local law to amend the Dobbs Ferry Code by revising Chapter 153, adding provisions related to beekeeping? Trustee Galen, second. Trustee Sullivan, all in favor? That passes unanimously, so it's done. And we'll expect some honey, I guess. I don't know.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, you need to close the public hearing.
Yes. So is there a motion to close the public hearing first? Trustee Patino, second. Trustee Rosen Asher, all in favor? That public hearing is closed. Do I have to retake the vote?
No,
Liz?
you can take the vote in the public hearing.
You have that vote. Okay.
Good. See, it wasn't me that time, Mayor.
But she said, excuse me, Mr. Mayor. Next on the agenda is courtesy of the floor. Does anybody have anything that they'd like to present to the village? Come on up. Just for the record, you have 3 minutes, so you're welcome. And just tell us who you are and your address.
256 Broadway, Benji Silverman. And first of all, thank you for giving me this opportunity. And as a Dobbs Ferry resident, I'd like to express my thanks for all the hard work that you do on behalf of the community. But I'm not here as an individual tonight. I'm representing Chabad of the River Towns, which is a synagogue on Broadway, 303 Broadway, and the community that we serve. As you may be aware, we submitted some paperwork, an application to relocate our synagogue from 303 Broadway to 19 Livingston a couple of weeks ago. And I'm not here to in any way bypass the land review process. But rather, my goal is to gain a better understanding as to how the process works and establish a clear timeline to manage expectations effectively. we assembled a professional project team and presented a comprehensive package to the village. And we may have inadvertently came across as a little bit brash, as if we were pushing our agenda without looking to engage in dialogue. So first of all, I apologize for that, if that was the case, and allow me to clarify that this was not our intention. Our aim in hiring our team was to be well-prepared, showing respect for your time, and not to come across, God forbid, as arrogant or pushy. I do want to highlight that time is of the essence for this project. Our membership is growing, and we need to expand in order to accommodate our congregants. And we believe that relocating to 19 Livingston will be more suitable for Chabad and for the village at large in terms of parking, traffic, and proximity to neighbors, better than expanding at our current location. I think this relocation provides an opportunity to create something on 19 Livingston that will benefit the larger community and not just a few individuals, while preserving the viewshed corridors and creating welcoming architecture for the southern gateway to downtown. But we cannot hold on to the contract indefinitely, so just letting it kind of sit there or any unnecessary delays in making a decision essentially result in a decision of no. So again, thank you for your time and consideration, and we definitely look forward to working through any concerns or questions. But if I can ask for some form of a timeline and what the next steps should be, I would greatly appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you coming down. We also appreciate the fact that it's a big investment for you, and it's a big step. So, and we certainly weren't put off by your coming in and dropping it off. That's not a problem whatsoever. Just that you, as you've indicated, you have a very experienced and full team, and I think it would be best if your team worked with our team directly, and you can then manage expectations correctly. Is there anything you want to add to that, Laura Lee?
Sure. Good evening, Rabbi Silverman. Good to see you again. Based upon instructions given to me just this evening, Dan Posen and I intend to reach out to your attorney, Mr. Alexander, tomorrow to give a bullet point of the next steps in the process, which necessitate application through the building department. So I'll be providing with Mr. Posen tomorrow those instructions directly to Mr. Alexander. And I hope you take no offense, but knowing that you're represented, it would actually be an unethical violation, unethically of my professional standards to answer you directly when I know that you have an attorney. So I will speak with him tomorrow and fully intend to do that based upon instructions just given to me
I
tonight.
appreciate exactly what we were here for tonight, what we were hoping for. But thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. We'll be working with you going forward, so.
Thank you.
Actually, your team going forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, come on up.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the Village Board. I have two items.
Who are you?
Thank you. Vincent Coolan, 27 Allen Street, Dobbs Ferry. Two items. I emailed you concerning the proposed resolution you're working on regarding Indian Point. I'm not opposed to the process. I'm concerned that there's some hyperbole in there and inaccuracies that really need clarification. I'll be more than happy. My background will help you quite a bit. I have a lot of it. But that, to me, is not important what I want to bring to the attention of you right
Well,
now.
let me just tell you that we did read your email, and you're concerned that I don't know if, I guess you.
I know I sent it to you earlier. I have a far more pressing matter.
Okay.
Our children. Today, I came back from Vermont. I got off the Sawmill Parkway. If you're familiar with the way the merge from the parkway comes, and I'm sorry if I'm on time, but when the road comes to Ashford Avenue merge near Pearl Street, okay, I witnessed at least 3 vehicles run a light that was red and the stop sign on a school bus. I've seen that also as an emergency responder with the fire apparatus. I'm a firefighter in Ardsley. I've witnessed that. Something has to be done. It's insane. I know you're worried about Indian Point, and I get it.
No,
But
we're worried more about the
this
safety of our children.
is huge. This is huge. And I did talk to the police officer. I didn't have a chance, Chief, see, I didn't realize you were here, but this is an issue. I have a grandchild. The way traffic is in this village, I know people have important business to get to, but our children, my God, what can I tell you? If it isn't important to, and I'm not insinuating it's not.
Right.
Please don't take that. But I'm very passionate that because of what I saw, okay?
Okay, so the chief is here, you can talk to the chief.
I will. And getting back, I'd be more than happy to talk to you and work through the details of the issues that I see with that resolution to make it better and safer for everybody.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Come on up.
I'm Vance Long. I live on Broadway. I was speaking with one of the, I'm also president of the Dobbs, the Rivertowns Chamber. In our last village chat, we had some questions. Trustee Galen was there about parking. We know that the sidewalks We know that the sidewalks were all done on Chestnut, up down until on Main to the Chestnut intersection. There's been some concerns brought to us about just south of Chestnut, in front of the Crespo Wines and Liquor. There is a handicap space where the tree has pushed through the sidewalk, lifting it almost 2 curb heights above, making a very dangerous situation for a space that's reserved for people with mobility impaired anyway. And we just wanted to know if there was something that was aware of. I know that the other scope did not include that. We just wanted to bring that back to the board attention to address, because we feel that that's a liability for the village if someone were to get injured on that. We could forward photographs of the sidewalk to the trustees.
Okay.
And mostly because it is a handicap space, that the concern is really for the danger to the safety of.
For sure. We'll have DPW go and look at it tomorrow. I don't know if you're aware of it, Steve? Well,
Just that way was just a concern. We just wanted to bring it up to the board so they were aware of make sure everybody was aware of it.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And also with the sesquicentennial,
Thanks.
I was in Texas when we did it in '86, so I've been doing it
Practicing for.
for a long time. I've said it for years. We'd be happy to invite to the village chats that we do with for the Chamber of Commerce to directly ask businesses what their feelings are about the road closures and how to best get their advice on that and their thoughts.
That'll be great. Kendra would love to make a presentation to the Chamber of Commerce. She would love it.
We'd be happy to have anybody that wants to talk.
That would be great, so I think we should work together on that.
Well, that's the other thing that we've been doing with the chamber. We have switched our village chats to every other month. So the Dobbs Ferry ones will happen one month and they'll skip a month and cover the next one. You said Trustee Galen was at the last one. We're hoping to use those going forward as a direct conduit for the board to speak directly to the businesses and have their thoughts on anything that you might have questions for, or anything that they would like to. So we'd like to extend an invitation to any of the board members to feel free to join those monthly, other alternate monthly chats.
Well, I know Trustee Rosenasher and myself have been there, and I know she's very much involved with the Chamber. So.
Yeah, I think I've been to almost every village chat except the last one, and I do think it's always very helpful when you can talk, face to face on Zoom, but hear from every part of our community. So.
And we'd like to make those going forward a direct conduit for the village leadership to be able to have access to the businesses on a regular basis.
Yeah, and going in reverse, maybe you can come down sometime here and make a presentation to us, telling us what's going on.
I would be happy to do that. And any other questions you need in support with some of the other initiatives that are going on, we're happy to work with the village in any way that we can.
Okay.
So we'd like to have a closer relationship, as we represent all 4 villages. We represent, we have constituents from, members from Hastings, and when we look at the other villages that are looking at like downtown advocate questions, we can hopefully help share institutional knowledge if other villages attend adopt a position like that, and put them in contact so that they're not starting from year 0, actually helping as a two-way street, as you said, Mr. Mayor.
Well, you'll be happy to know that our local development corporation just today voted to put out a request for qualifications on a position for downtown business advocate. So we will be moving forward with that.
Well, anything we can do to help with supporting that position when it's here, or while you're looking for it, we'd be more than happy to do so.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay.
No, Patty? Wow. Sorry, Patty.
So let's move to resolutions. We have to consider a resolution to establish the schedule for the public workshop, public hearing, and tentative adoption date of the 2023-2024 village budget. Jeff, do you want to talk a little bit about what we have to do?
Yeah, so we have to, the board has to adopt the budget before May 1st, but we need to have a public hearing to present that budget. Richard and I will do that, or we're proposing to do that at the next board meeting.
Okay, so the plan is to have a public hearing on April 11th and then hold the adoption of the vote on it on April 28th. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So is there a motion to schedule a public hearing for April 11th, 2023 at 7:30 at the Village Boardroom for the purpose of considering and discussing the tentative budget for the fiscal year 2023-2024? Trustee Rosenberg, second trustee Taylor, all in favor? That motion passes. So that would be the scheduling of the public workshop. Next is to consider a resolution to set a date for a public hearing to consider a proposed local law to enact property tax exemptions pursuant to section 466-A of the New York State Real Property Tax Law. So firefighters and ambulance workers. So, Laura Lee, do you want to talk about this?
Sure. The governor recently signed into law an update to this particular section of New York State real property tax law, and it necessitates adopting local law with the options that were provided in the statute, and you had provided me guidance in terms of including those options. This would provide a tax exemption of 10% for qualified individuals, firefighters and ambulance workers for their primary residences here in Dobbs Ferry. And it also provides for some ongoing tax exemptions for surviving spouses under a number of circumstances, and also for a lifetime exemption at that level for 20 years, years of service, 20 years or more. This takes the place of any other action you've taken under this provision, and it's required by the statute to move forward. So you have a local law draft in front of you, and we just would like to get the public hearing scheduled.
Okay, so is there a motion to schedule a public hearing to consider a local law establishing real property tax exemption for volunteer firefighters and ambulance workers for April 11th, 2023 at 7:30 to be held at Village Hall? Trustee Patino, second. Trustee Rosen Asher, all in favor? That public hearing is set. Resolution number 3 is to address an issue of an emergency light pole repair. Richard, you want to talk about that?
Sure. So in doing the recent sidewalk project and in the DPW walking around some of the various streets, they previously identified 2 light poles that were in condition that needed to be replaced immediately, and you approved those and under an emergency repair. This is one additional pole that they identified that they would like to have repaired while the crew is still available.
Okay, any questions or comments regarding this? Okay, so is there a resolution to approve a budget amendment for a street light pole repair as recommended by the Department of Public Works in the amount of, I believe, $8,750? Trustee Sullivan, second. Trustee Patino, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Action item number 4 is to consider a resolution for the Historical Society. I think every year we enter into this IMA. Is that correct, Laura Lee? Is this your thing, or is this a Richard thing?
Oh, yes. You enter into an IMA with a local historical society in exchange for the services they provide with preservation of records, archiving, et cetera, et cetera. So this is a budget item that you include each year, and as a result of the budget item, there's this IMA that you entertain.
Any comments or questions regarding this? Okay, so is there a motion to authorize the interim village administrator to execute an agreement with the Dobbs Ferry Historical Society for a term of 1 calendar year for a total not to exceed a commitment of $10,000 to be used exclusively by the Historical Society as reimbursement for their performance of their work as defined in said agreement. Trustee Rosen Asher, second trustee Taylor, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Action item number 5 is to consider a resolution for an enhanced 9/11 IMA. I think,
911.
911. So,
Right, is that what you mean?
Chief, do you want to come up here and talk about it briefly?
Thank you, Mayor. This is just the standard renewal that designates roles between the Village of Dobbs Ferry and Westchester County with our 911 system.
And there's no cost involved, right?
There's no cost.
Okay. Any questions for this? Okay, so is there a motion to authorize the interim village administrator to enter into an agreement with Westchester County for the provision of E-911 services for the period of time through October 2027? Trustee Rosen Asher, second trustee Tino, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Action item number 6 is to consider a resolution to authorize the interim village administrator to execute an agreement with Shamrock Amusement for a carnival event at the waterfront from July 1st to July 4th. This is the event that Kendra was talking about. I see that we're going to get 25% of the proceeds, from what I can see. I guess, is that standard in this type of a thing?
This would be the gate sales, not
Right.
the concessions. Yes, it's a standard.
I have a couple of questions. One is whether that amount of money will cover the requirement in the contract for what looks like public safety, police presence at the event for those 4 days, and whether the DPW has been consulted on whether there is potential damage that will need to be remediated to the area where they're setting up the rides and concessions. Finally, they list the number of rides and concessions as like 3+ and 4+. I'm not sure what the upper limit of plus is, and I'm not sure that that I'm particularly comfortable with a number of rides and concessions that is potentially infinite.
Kendra's gone, so it's hard to explain.
Yeah, she's not here.
Wow.
Anybody else? I mean,
Because I don't know anything about it.
right.
Yeah, and I only have the,
It came in a separate email.
oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. I got it. I got the separate one, sorry.
So it does say number of rides to be placed, 13+, number of games to be placed, 4+, number of food concessions, 3+. Kendra may have the answer to these questions. I don't know what they are. We could put it over till next time. It's not a, I don't think it's a problem.
I do think sorting out what the cost of police overtime and DPW overtime is likely.
I think the time was of the essence because I believe that because it's over the 4th of July weekend, Kendra had indicated that the offer was good for a limited amount of time. She did call me on this and
And the OT is in the 2023-24 budget as well. Has been budgeted.
Where does it even, do we have that?
Right, but it also says that it's supposed to be cost neutral to the village. That's in the documentation. And so my question as to cost neutrality is whether that 25% of the gate will provide that.
I don't think we know in advance of how many people will pass through the gate. So I believe she's making a guesstimate, although I cannot speak for her.
I think this is actually, it's going to be a loss, my own personal opinion. That's the way this is going to be. We're offering an entertainment as part of it. I don't know how much of a loss, and I guess, I don't know if anyone will ever know how much of a loss, but I don't know if it really will be neutral.
I think generally your rec-sponsored events at the waterfront are for purposes of the community, and I'm not sure that they are not a loss.
Yeah, and I think we're perfectly okay with that, at least I am, and almost all the events have a much greater cost for cleanup and
Yeah,
safety.
I just don't
So-
usually see, a promise of cost neutrality in there, so I wanted to query that. I'm sorry that
Where are
it's
you
not
looking
there.
at?
I can't
Where,
speak.
where are you seeing the cost neutrality?
It was in a separate email, I guess. I don't see it here.
Well, what it says is in the resolution that proceeds of the ticket sales from the event will go to the Village of Dobbs Ferry, and thereby there is no cost to the village for their services. So
But we don't
not-
have, we don't have a number for what the provision of services
I
will
think
be,
that part
right?
is not correct,
Well,
but,
yeah.
you know.
We don't even know
It's
what-
gonna be offset a little bit. I think we can assume that there will be what do the events usually cost? Several $1,000s and,
But do we have a fee? Is this a fee for service agreement, and do we know what that fee
It
is?
says, I think, $100, right?
No, they pay us $100.
Okay.
And we get, in exchange for that, 25%, guaranteed 25% of the gate.
Where does it say that?
In the contract. You have that?
Because that was my question.
Got it, but
That was my question when this crossed my desk. I said, wait, we're paying.
these terms are just,
No, it says it
Not very
clearly,
clear.
percent to sponsor 25%, fee to sponsor $100, fee to sponsor $100.
literally to sponsor, us being the sponsor.
Correct.
Okay. We being the sponsor, excuse me.
And if we're gonna have an extended period for 4 days to do this, we should just have a sense of what the chief thinks the overtime costs are gonna be. And maybe we could approve this subject to village administrator being satisfied with the answer to these questions. Does that make sense?
Can that be done?
You have to be very specific about the questions that you want answered, though.
I think if we can get an answer to can we ask this vendor what they do this all the time, what is the anticipated revenue, A? And what?
I'm sorry.
What is the anticipated revenue?
Okay.
They run these, this is their job, right? They run these things, so they can tell us what the anticipated gross sales are, and then if it's 25% to us, what is that revenue? And then what are the hours exactly that we're talking about? And then based on what the hours exactly that we're talking about, what are the overtime implications for the police department? And what are the overtime implications for DPW? That would be,
Is this the same company that Ardsley uses for their carnival?
I don't know.
Question number 3.
Because
I don't think it is.
then we can always ask
I don't think it
Ardsley.
is.
Yeah,
They use-
because they have theirs every.
yeah, I just think before we proceed.
They
on
use a
any of
different
this.
company. They
They
use
use a
Ace Amusements, I think, or something, yeah.
And some information from Kendra on why this was the preferred vendor would just as opposed to some other one, and some sense that this is a good, this recommendation was based on some other, the reasonable fee, this is standard, we've seen them in action before, they do a great job, whatever it is.
It looks like you have overlapping events that entire weekend. The proposal on the Sesquin, the 150th year anniversary. There's a Sunday event, the Soapbox Derby, that's July 2nd, that's Sunday, that'll entail overtime as well. And it looks like your July 4th, which is, it's midweek, but you're going to ask the carnival to stop at 7 that night, which is the last night of the carnival, and then you'll have the regular celebration down at Waterfront as well.
Well, I guess a large question there is I don't know if the chief was in when Kendra was outlining the whole schedule of events, but
Yeah,
do we have the manpower to cover all of that? I guess is a fair question.
I mean, the chief was here. Why can't he come forward and answer the police part? At least you'll know what the police expenses are, right?
Well, I don't
For
think we know how
4-day
many
event?
hours
For a
we're
4-day
talking
event.
about.
Well, Mr. Mayor, Margaret just texted me and said that Kendra's going to log in to answer questions that you may have.
Okay. It's July 4th, so I'm sure the overtime would be massive.
That is correct.
Massive every year on July 4th.
Yes, July 4th, in and of itself alone, is almost a full department response. We did speak during the planning, and we do have approximate amount of officers per event. We're obviously, for safety's sake, like to try to streamline the events just so I can focus on one event per day as we lead up to the 4th of July. During the budget time, did present Jeff with approximate worst-case scenario, again, depending on how the overtime rolls out through dissemination, so that we do have something kind of in place to cover each evening of the carnival and some of the other events planned. I can get that to you, Mayor and Board, just our rough breakdown. I don't know what I don't know. Again, never had a festival, so kind of have to prepare as it occurs.
Okay. Did you say she was gonna log in, like, did she say when?
Supposedly now.
Okay, I mean, we can come back to this if she's, all right, let's move on to a different topic, and then when she calls in, let us know. Oh, this is to consider a resolution approving the budget transfer for one license plate reader as recommended by the police chief. So I think, Chief, you had requested a couple of license plate readers, and I think, Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, we're able to put one of these now on this year's budget?
Correct.
Okay. Any questions regarding this?
This is for for the tickets for enforcement, correct?
Parking enforcement.
Parking enforcement.
Okay, so is there a motion to approve a budget transfer for one license plate reader as recommended by the police chief at a total cost of $47,683.30? Trustee Rosen Asher, second. Trustee Rosenberg, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Next item would be a resolution, what we were talking about, consider a resolution in opposition to the discharge of contaminated water at the Hudson River. We have a proposed resolution.
This was based on the form that was sent by the Riverkeeper. I did some additional research and customized it a little bit more
Yeah,
than what
I'm
they.
glad you did, because I think Hastings customized theirs as well.
Yeah.
So,
It wasn't really well-written, so.
right, I know that Hastings.
And I can't resist.
So, is there a motion to consider a resolution in opposition to the discharge of radioactive contaminated water into the Hudson River? Trustee Patino, second. Trustee Rosen Asher, all in favor? That passes unanimously. And is there a motion to consider approving the audit of claims as submitted and recommended by the village treasurer? Trustee Rosen Asher, second. Patino, all in favor? That passes unanimously.
Kendra's here.
Kendra?
Hi, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that you guys would have questions. I didn't mean to leave.
It's okay. As long as you can answer our questions now.
I will do my best.
Okay. What was question number one? You had it written down, Richard.
Right, so the first one is, they indicate that the village will share approximately 25% of the gate revenue. So do we have any idea what that means in terms of the gross receipts, et cetera?
We don't know how many people are expected to come. It would be depending on the attendance. So if they make $100,000 in entrance fees, then we would get $25,000.
Is there a history that they've shared?
It kind of depends on the different locations. There was one site that's in Westchester. I'm drawing a blank as to where, but they did. They make six figures like after everything is paid for. So it's really hard to judge. We're hoping that there's a great turnout.
How did you select this company?
We reached out to a few different ones. We've heard good things about them, so that's how we selected them.
Okay. Can you remember, like, when you say you heard good things from other communities?
Yeah, so they do a lot in Rockland, and they do some over in Westchester, and they also do Orange County and New Jersey.
Okay.
The contract is pretty open-ended as to the number of, rides, concessions, games, et cetera. Is there any concern at the rec department that this could get larger than what might reasonably be held in the area you've designated?
So we left it open-ended just because we weren't sure what was going to fit. So we have to kind of map it out and then plan the ride. So it won't get any bigger than what will fit on the soccer field.
And will there be any steps needed by the DPW to, heal the field after a 4-day carnival event with heavy equipment rides, et cetera?
So there might be some damage. The company will provide topsoil and everything. It depends on how wet it is. We've kind of talked about it. If we're expecting a lot of rain, we would go ahead and turn off the sprinkler system so that it's not very muddy. But we won't really know until after everything is gone what needs to be done. But I did talk to DPW about it, and we will fix anything that needs to be repaired.
Any other questions for Kendra?
We were just hoping to get, and you might not, I assume, know this off the top of your head, but based on the number of hours that the carnival would be open for, if you could get with the police department and the DPW to get a sense of the overtime costs, knowing that we don't know exactly what the gross receipts will be yet, but just to understand kind of what kind of expenditure we could be looking at.
We did put that together. I believe that they each put it in their separate accounts, but Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong. And then we also added $68,000 to the celebrations line for this budget year to cover some of that cost, I believe.
Correct.
I'm ready to move forward with it. I don't know if anybody else is. I just think it's a cost of the celebration, so.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
I thank you, Kendra, for coming back and answering the questions. I think a lot of them originated with me having read the contract, but I didn't think the workshop was the time to ask those questions. So I appreciate your jumping back on.
No problem.
Okay, so is there a motion to authorize the interim village administrator to execute an agreement with Shamrock Amusements for a carnival event at the Dobbsbury Waterfront Park from July 1st, 2023 through July 4th, 2023? Trustee Sullivan, second trustee Rosenberg, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Okay, let's jump down to the trustee liaison reports. Larry, do you have anything?
I do not.
Okay, Matt, do you have anything?
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, we had the Affordable Housing Task Force come in and talk about doing some exploratory meetings with developers and experts. We had our first one. It was very illuminating and made it feel like the prospects for being able to move forward with the project are positive. And so we're going to be working with the folks at PACE to organize similar meetings with other let's call them containers of expertise, and we'll report back to the board as we learn and as a possible project takes shape.
Okay, Shari, do you have anything?
I know that the Human Rights and Diversity Committee is working with Liz on the community survey to send out, so hopefully that will go out soon, but I've been out of commission, so I haven't met with anybody else.
Okay. Mike?
The CAB is, along with Hudson, Groundwork Hudson Valley is hosting the Great Sawmill River Cleanup on Saturday, April 22nd, 10 to 1. That start point is at the South County Bike Path at Lawrence Street. You can sign up using an Eventbrite website, and we hope to see as many residents there as
I'm signed up already.
Nothing for the planning.
Yeah, I think there were, well, let me just go. Jessica, you can go first.
Downtown Committee has been supporting efforts around Downtown Economic Development Advocate, which is very exciting, and other grant-seeking initiatives. And the chamber, the Dobbs sort of sub-meeting in the chamber would like to propose a weekend sidewalk event that wouldn't involve any street closures in the next month or two to sort of kick off spring. So I'll be coming, asking the Board of Trustees to consider that in the coming weeks. And no update from the Zoning Board of Appeals. They're humming along.
Yeah, so the Youth Services Council, I don't remember the date, like in the last couple of weeks, had a basketball competition. They had 115 kids show up, which I think is a great activity for the preteen and teens. And they're hoping to have more events in their basketball or, free rec nights at the school every month. The rec department, the camp sign up starts this week, so you can go to the recreation department website for the instructions on doing that. And they were creative this year and came up with a teen and adult scavenger hunt for collect eggs, and then they'll get a raffle or prize. So a lot of people are engaged in that right now. And then there's the flashlight egg hunt for grades 3 and up on Friday night at Gould Park at 8:15, and for pre-K to second grade at Gould Park at 11 a.m. And there's a doggy egg hunt at Waterfront Park at 1:15 p.m., which I imagine would be very funny.
I just want to announce that the second annual Dobbs Dirt Fest is happening on Saturday, April 29th, from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. I believe that's at Waterfront Park. And it's a compost, give back, native plants, demos, fun for the kids. And it's just interesting to see what happens with dirt. Also, I want to announce the Grid Rewards Mayor's Challenge. So I'm involved in a challenge with the other Rivertown mayors on who could have the most residents. Actually, this year, we won last year, and I think the other villages were upset because some other villages had more percentage of people signing up, but we had the most people sign up. So this year, it's going to be who has the most percentage, the highest percentage of people who sign up. So everyone who hasn't signed up, you should sign up. The period to sign up is March 23 through April 28th. Last year, a Dobbs Ferry resident earned $368 for it. I personally earned about $200 for doing it, so it doesn't cost you anything. You make money for doing it, and it's just a matter of when Con Ed sends you a text message to lower your consumption of energy, you do that, and you're saving the grid from overworking and using power sources that are worse for the environment. So I urge everyone to sign up for the Grid Rewards, and maybe we could win again this year, which is be great. Yeah. I also think that the beautification committee is doing the cleanup of the village also on the same day as the Great Somo River cleanup. So I think the beautification committee cleanup is on Saturday, April 22nd. Their table would be downtown between Cedar and Main, and you can just pick up some garbage bags, and then they will, you can go wherever you want to clean up. So I think that's something that everyone should be interested in. So, anything else? Okay, there being nothing further, is there a motion to close tonight's meeting? Trustee Rosen Asher, second Patino, meeting is closed.
Aye all.